That's what we said. Hear what we'll say. Have a good day. Boo-hoo.
Welcome to That's What We Said, where we decide if a movie is a bop or a flop.
By Marina.
Lauren?
And Manu.
Okay, so we're gonna start with a neutral review of the movie There Will Be Blood, which is the topic of our podcast today. The movie is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, which was released in 2008. And the main character is Daniel Plainview, and he is an oil man, and the story of the movie is him starting off working by himself in a small business and his way succeeding and taking over more land, and how that changes him as a character, the people around him, and his values in general. He takes over land alongside with his adopted son, HW. And we get to know his priorities, which since the start of the movie we get to know that it is oil and money and the industry. But that gets more and more intense throughout the movie. And one of two sons, two sets of twins, comes over and tells that their family has land. So Daniel Plainview goes to the family and takes over their land, and in the future takes over more land around that area.
And initially, one of the twins of that family, the Sunday family, goes over to Daniel Plainview to say that he has oil in his land. And Daniel believes the man. However, he told him that if he is lying, there will be consequences. However, he went over to his family's lot and he was able to find a lot of oil. So he starts setting up camp there in California and tries to dig out all this oil, and a lot of different things occur we were able to see that there's a lot of different plot twists with Eli, the other son, and the Sunday family.
In the future, where he discovers that the land has lots of oil, not only in the place where he took over, but also around that area, he makes a community of all the people who live around that area and convince them to take over their land, and sets lots of camps to take the oil. And initially he talks about his priorities, which are family, making classes during the work so children have access to education. And he seems like a very friendly man and with a family priority, and we get to see that's changing throughout the movie, or maybe not even changing, but being seen more throughout the movie. So his priorities are straight, but they get more revealed with time.
Okay, so let's start off with
the dialogue. Okay,
Yeah.
so something that I noticed was that the first dialogue within the movie starts with 14 minutes. So we have lots of actions and lots of things happening before we get to hear the characters speak. And the dialogue is very important, and the fact that it takes so long for Daniel to say anything emphasizes that, because it makes it even more powerful, the fact that it takes so long for him to say anything, or for us to get to know the voice of the character. The movie starts off with Daniel working by himself, and it's very intense. We get to see the job that is done and how hard that is, and very dangerous. And when he starts talking, the dialogue just starts very intense from the start.
Yeah, and I feel... Oh, sorry. You go, Manu.
No, yeah. And also that in many scenes we can see how intense the dialogue is, and it increases throughout the movie because, like, considering the situations, the dialogue increases and becomes more tense. We can see when things happen, for example, when his plans don't work as well as he wanted to, he gets very stressed, and Daniel Day-Lewis, who plays the character, he expresses it through his dialogue and actions as well. He expresses it very well, and we can really feel what the character is feeling.
And I also think that 14 minutes of like no dialogue in the beginning really was important to set up the movie in itself. At first I was a little bit confused because you get a little bit more
Anxiety.
you get a lot of anxiety. You have to like wait a lot, and you're giving a lot of attention to it because there is no dialogue. It's about vision. You're trying to put things together without anyone saying anything. So that is something unique that I haven't seen a lot of movies do. However, I feel like that was a way to really put in a bunch of different ways of like different aspects of filming the shots. Like there's a different angles, there's different zooms, there was like a lot of high speed intro. I don't know, you remember when it was like kind of zooming in and out
Yeah.
into
But
the character?
something that's important about dialogue is that it changes his relationship with each character throughout the movie. So the way that Daniel Plainview talks to other characters in the beginning of the movie, we get to see a man who is a family man. The way he talks to HW, which is his son, in the beginning of the movie, we see that he is someone who cares. He cares about the families that whose land he's taking over. He cares about the little girl who her father beats her when she doesn't pray, and he talks to her, no more beating, okay? And that is ironic because towards the end of the movie, Daniel's basically beating everyone. So that dialogue is very important. Not only the dialogue, because the dialogue comes along with the acting, which is also phenomenal, which we will talk more about later on, but also when he talks to Eli, which is a very religious person who is
The priest of the church down there, right?
exactly, and he starts off talking to him in a way that's okay. I wouldn't say that they're friends, you know, because they start off rocky and they continue to have a rocky relationship until the end, right? But I observe that the dialogue changes, that when he gets more power, Daniel, he gets meaner, he gets more aggressive because he knows he has the power to do that and the power to say that
And no one
because
can
there
stop
are
him.
no consequences.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of the dialogue in the beginning, when he was trying to like when he's conveyed as someone that's amazing and like he has all these great values, there's also little snippets that he's talking with his son, for example, in the beginning, that he was saying how he's gonna have a lot of money and all these different things, and the little kid asked his father, like, what kind of money are these people gonna get? And the dad says pigeon money. So that instead of having oil money there, he's already setting off the kind of vibe of, we're not gonna completely give all the money that they're like that they deserve, that we're going to give them the bare minimum of money. So it kind of foreshadows the fact that he's going to kind of scam people.
And that's where we get to see that his priority is money, is success, and is the industry in general, but he uses the method of looking like he's a family man and looking like he cares and saying that he cares, and he knows exactly how to play his cards right. And
Yes, and I think, sorry.
no, continue.
No, yeah, I think also that with the dialogue, we can see how in the beginning, he's like very more humble, and that's when his dialogue isn't as aggressive and isn't as tense, because his words, they increase and they become more aggressive with the amount of money he gets, because in the middle and towards the end, he gets way more aggressive because he has the power in his mind, I guess, and in real life, money is power, and he just becomes the god, let's say. He doesn't stop by anything because his means don't justify the ends, but he gets a lot of money. He is extremely rich, and we can see that with the dialogue as well.
Exactly. So, connecting to that, I think we can move on to the acting of the movie, which is what I believe made it so successful, because Daniel Lewis, which is the actor who did Daniel Plainview, is a method actor, which for people who don't know, that means that he stays in character for a long time out of screen, and we can see that throughout his actions, which are so natural. His posture, which is very forward and gets, how can I say like this?
Slouching.
Exactly. He's slouching from the start, but he slouches even more throughout the movie because it gets more intense. He gets older. It's like he has more pressure on his back.
Well,
and exactly, and we can see that naturally because what we see a lot in movies is actors trying to portray what they're feeling, but we can see that they're acting. And in this movie, we do not see Daniel acting. We see him feeling every scene, especially in the end. I think when he's going after Eli, when Eli visits him in his mansion and he has all this success, and he is very old and he's been through lots of fields and hard work, which takes a toll on your posture and your actions. And we can see that so naturally because we can see him keep the same posture and voice and throughout the scene, and that is very hard because what most actors do when happens, which is normal because it is very hard, is keeping the same intensity throughout the entire scene, and that is something that Daniel successfully does due to his method acting and his very, very, very good research upon the character.
Yeah, and also, it's a very small detail, but I personally really liked it. In the beginning of the movie, we can see Daniel falling down from an oil mine. He falls into it, from a coal mine. He falls into it, and he breaks his leg. And towards the end, we can see how Daniel, as he gets older, he also limps more. And I think that's very important and great how he didn't ignore that special detail because it was so small, but it was still there, you know.
Exactly.
It connects the end of the movie with the beginning.
Exactly. That's something that's so true, Manu, because he limped the entire movie. He did not forget that happened in his story. So that's something that's phenomenal. There's no question asks why Daniel Lewis is such a wanted actor for all movies, because he stays loyal to the character's storyline, and that's rare and that's difficult, and he successfully does that very naturally, making the character feel every scene. Something that happened to me specifically, that the acting was phenomenal, where we can see Daniel's priorities is when the oil explodes. And I was actually watching the movie while I was on the treadmill, and my time on the treadmill ended, and I didn't leave because I couldn't stop watching. And I really wanted to talk about why was that successful? Why was I so intrigued? The entire movie made it so intense, not only with the phenomenal acting where Daniel shows his priorities, where HW is clearly very hurt, and another character asks him, "Oh, is HW okay?" And he says, "No, he is not." But he's still not there with his son. He's sitting there on the floor,
dissociating.
looking at the entire scene burning. And another thing that during this scene that made me even more anxious was the soundtrack. They had very fast and intense music that made my heart race up and continue feeling the flow and the intensity of the scene along with the acting, soundtrack. The shots were amazing. They were very fast, and they very successfully made me stay intrigued during that entire scene.
I agree. I was like very, very intrigued the whole time, even though it was definitely intense in certain parts of the movie. I would always try to understand what was going on. Why was Daniel Plainview acting the way that he was? And especially in that scene, that also was very interesting to me as well, is that it kind of gave a little bit of a insight on how Daniel Plainview, he does care for his son, However, he cares
To
about
a
his business.
certain extent.
To a certain extent,
right.
he like actually cares about his business more than his son, because he's there. He knows his son is hurt. However, he's still looking at something that's going wrong in his business more than taking care and making sure that his son is okay.
Exactly, and I think that's the first time in the movie that we see straight and clear his priorities, where his son basically he blew up H&W. He was next to the oil when it exploded. So, and that is so dangerous. And Daniel knows that. He's aware of what his son went through. His son hit his head, which is so awfully dangerous. He could die.
He didn't even know if he was conscious completely. So
Exactly.
like that is where like he doesn't even care if his son is like alive or dead. Like he probably does, but to a certain extent no, because he's more he cares more about his business than if his son is alive or dead. So.
Exactly.
Anyways, I really do think that the movie has been really, really great. I thought it was very enticing, and I think it was
Let's
very
move
well.
on to cinematography. In this scene that I just talked about, as I said, the filming was very fast, which made it even more intense. But another aspect that made me even more attached to the scene, which is a scene that the oil blows up, is the fact that when H&W he's pressed down onto a table with two men over him, and he's going crazy because he doesn't really know what's happening to him because it's exploded. He can't hear. He keeps saying, I can't hear my voice. It's very anxiety triggering. And the fact that the shot is filmed very zoomed in and it moves very fast helps with the anxiety that the audience feels, not only with the soundtrack that's also fast and intense, but the dialogue and the cinematography in that shot. We can see that it was made with an intention.
And I think that actually happened a lot throughout the film to make different scenes like even more intense. Like for example, towards the end, when Eli goes and visits him in his mansion, when Plainview's like kind of brother is there, and he realizes it's not actually his brother, that they started using those techniques as well. So I just feel like many times when they're trying to convey like very intense scenes, they did it very well, because many times people try to convey and it doesn't work. But because of this like way that they filmed and the soundtrack, everything coming together, the soundtrack, the cinematography, like everything, it made it so
together.
It comes
Yeah.
together very well. Nothing's really missed.
And I think it's pretty obvious what we think of this movie, but let's move on to conclusions. So, may I start us off?
Yeah.
So, I'm an actress, so watching such good acting happening on screen already sells the movie for me. And it goes without saying that Daniel Lewis is a phenomenal actor. So for me, that made the movie phenomenal. And I would watch it again, and I do recommend it. But for me, talking about the storyline, I personally don't really like movies that I can expect the ending and that the ending is predictable. Because when you start a movie and you see someone who progressively shows his intentions of preferring money over people, I kind of already know that he's gonna end up in a mansion by himself. That for me was kind of predictable, which for me made the ending lack power and lack interest, especially because it is a very long movie, so you kind of expect like a plot twist, well, a huge plot twist. We did have one in the end, but for me it was not big enough. But the acting is so good that didn't even matter to a certain extent. And also connecting the movie to Breaking Bad, which is another phenomenal series. Breaking Bad is bunch of good characters, good normal people and citizens turning into bad people and making bad choices and progressively getting worse. And I connected that to that movie because Daniel Plainville starts off as a family man, as someone who cares, as someone whose people trust to give their land to someone who just kills Red with his own hands. So that change of character and change of emotional
roller
coaster, that change for me was phenomenal, and that connected for me to Breaking Bad as well, as someone very good turning into someone very bad, and not actually someone being very good, but just their intentions being shown more and more throughout the movie.
Yeah, I really liked the movie as well. I thought it was a genius masterpiece and probably a classic as well. Like Marina said, Daniel Day-Lewis is a fantastic actor. Like, I think no one can disagree on that. Hence why he won so many awards, especially for this movie. And I genuinely really liked it. I think it was a great experience, and I would honestly rewatch it. And I feel like it's so intense and so well done, well made, that everyone at least once should try to watch it because it's very interesting.
I feel like I really, really loved this movie, and it was very phenomenal. And I do agree in the fact that it's a must-watch film at least once in your life. However, for me, I don't think I would really watch it again because it is so influential. I don't feel like I'll forget anything that that is happening throughout the movie. So I'll like it because it's very memorable. So I feel like for me, I'm not one to rewatch movies if it's very memorable. However, I really, really enjoyed the movie, and honestly, it was one of the best movies I watched this year. So
Exactly. Okay, so to finish our podcast today, girls, 0 out of 10, what do you give?
I'll give it a 9.
A 9? I would give it a 9 for the acting. Yeah. And you, Manu?
I'd give it a 9 as well, 8.5 to 9.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
Okay, so I think we all agree on this one. Perfect,
It's a
ladies.
bop.
Okay, it's a bop. It's a bop. Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Come more later for more movie reviews.
Woo!